Hello and welcome to Movie Bang. It's a series on my channel where I review movies while doing a mukbang. And today we're going to be reviewing the movie My Sucky Teen Romance, which is a very weird title. I'm pretty sure it's based off of kind of like a play on words for My Chemical Romance. It was a band that was pretty popular a few years ago, and it inspired a lot of vampire movies. And for the mukbang, we're going to be eating some food from Checkers, not sponsored. I pretty much ain't got nothing but some chili dogs in here. And side note, for this movie they talk about Comic-Con, well, Space Con, and I was gonna dress up for it, but I decided not to. So we're just gonna do this in regular clothing. And let's just see. Yes, nothing but like chili dog, chili, onions, mustard, and ketchup. That's pretty much all it is. So let's see. So the movie My Sucky Teen Romance is it's a comedy, but I don't really think they pass in the comedy department. It's very much dry, I want you to laugh humor and not like laugh out loud humor. But I do take a lot of they take a few jabs at Twilight. It came out, I think, two-ish years after the first Twilight movie. They take a few jabs at that, and those are kind of funny because it's just like, oh, I get what they're referencing, but outside of that, it's not really funny. Not all that much anyways. It comes off as like almost borderline being a parody where it doesn't take itself too seriously, but at the same time it comes back to trying to take itself seriously, and it doesn't really go together all that well. And there is romance in the movie because a vampire movie, of course, there's gonna be romance in it, but that romance takes a pretty heavy back seat for a majority of the movie. It's like they mention it, but outside of mentioning it, it comes up like 4 times throughout the movie, but it's a very short movie coming in at 1 hour and 16 minutes. So I can see why the romance took a bit of a back seat because they're running on a strict time limit, but they spend so much time doing extra stuff that shouldn't be done in the movie that it's like they don't care about the time limit at all. Let's see. And this, it's not bad. I don't think I would get it again. It's like, like it's not bad. It's just not my kind of flavor that I would want for it. I'm probably gonna end up putting some extra ketchup on it. Yeah, I'm probably gonna put some extra ketchup on it. So the movie, it starts and there's a man standing outside a building. He's smoking, and he sees this one man. He runs out of the building in a rush, gets in his car, drives off fast. Shortly after, there's a girl that follows behind him. So he pretty much left her behind. We don't know why. She sits on the bench, and the man that's smoking, he comes up to her, and the first thing he says is
Didn't seem very cool to me, storming out on a pretty girl like you.
I suppose there are better guys I could have met tonight.
My bike's around the corner. If you want, we could go for a ride. Get that punk off your mind.
Are you sure that's okay? And you don't have any other plans?
I do what I want when I want.
she opens herself up to him. They end up on a motorcycle. And as a side note, this girl, she has like terrible taste in men, if you ask me. So it's like the first guy, he's running out, left her stranded at like I think it's a restaurant or a hotel. And then the second guy, like, she meets him and like 2 minutes later, she's already getting on a motorcycle with him. So like, she either has terrible taste in men or she's a little reckless or a bit of both. And it really reminds me of Twilight New Moon with Bella. Edward left her behind, pretty much ran away from her. And then later on, she gets on the back of a motorcycle with somebody else that she didn't know, putting herself in danger on purpose. So I think this is one of those things that is like trying to spoof on Twilight, but I don't think so. So I wouldn't count this one as the first one. So let's see. After she gets on a motorcycle with him, the guy's just like, hold on tight, don't be scared, I drive fast. And then the girl says, oh, it doesn't matter, I don't get scared easily. And it turns out she's a vampire. She bites him on the neck, but she doesn't appear for the rest of the movie. She after this interaction, she disappears and nobody ever mentions her or what happened to her or anything like that. After all that happens, we got our opening sequence to My Sucky Teen Romance, and then it cuts to two girls on the phone with each other having a phone call, and she's explaining how the girl with long hair, we don't get their names yet, she's explaining how vampires are very oversaturated in the media.
It's not just teen vampires. I mean, there are cool kinds too.
That's not the point, Kate. They're everywhere. TV, books, posters. Team sparkly guy versus team other guy t-shirts. I'm just tired of our age group being associated with this stupid phenomenon. It's demeaning.
It's just a pop culture phase.
Her friend doesn't really think they're oversaturated yet because she kind of likes vampires for some reason. But I think that the vampire phenomenon, the vampire craze, it actually died down in like, I want to say 2019 to early or late 2020. People stopped caring about vampires as much. I'm not sure if we had a new vampire movie anytime soon. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I might be wrong with this, but I'm pretty sure the last vampire movies that aren't mainstream hasn't happened in years. Then we have so the friend, she's still describing how vampires are oversaturated and stuff. And I would say this is our first actual jab at Twilight, because the girl says, oh, and I'm sick of seeing sparkly guy versus other guy on t-shirts. So clearly she's talking about Stephanie Meyer's Twilight, how they glow in the sun and become sparkly instead of bursting into flames. So we found out that the main girl, the one that we followed throughout the movie, her name is Kate. She got short hair and pigtails, so resident nerd character. And then I forgot what her friend's name was, but she's not really all that important to the movie. Kate's friend group, except for Mark, they kind of they're there, but they're not there. I think they're just there to fill up time, really. So then we actually let's see. So then we actually do cut to Mark directly after this, and he's explaining to his mom why they're going to SpaceCon, because it's Kate's last weekend in town before she goes off to college. So her classes are about to start. She wants to go to SpaceCon for her last time, have fun with her friends, because she don't think she'll ever be able to go to another convention with.
Please, Mom. We go every year. And besides, it's Kate's last con before she moves away for good.
But it's like, you're going away for college, but SpaceCon, you're going away for college, but you can always come and visit to go to more conventions with your friends. You're not going away forever. But I guess if they've been friends for a very long time, it would be kind of hard for them to keep that connection when they start to go away. We cut to a gas station. This dude, he's reading comic books, getting scared off of everything. Kate comes in, she buys something, and then she tries to have a conversation with the cashier. She's like, oh, I read that comic book. It's one of I'm pretty sure she said it's like one of her favorites, but he doesn't really say anything except how much she always store for the stuff that she wants because she got a little too nervous.
I've read that one before.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, I don't read very many comic books, but I like that series a lot.
It'll be 8:22. Have a nice day.
You too.
She leaves, but I would say she leaves just in time because that's when we see the vampire from the opening come in.
You can't smoke in here.
He's looking for, well, pretty much just looking around. And then they're like, oh, you can't smoke in here. It's not cigarettes, but it's like candy that he has. But anyways, has anybody noticed how dry they make vampires look? Because it's like, you want them to look unnatural and barely human, but at the same time, you make them look so like they're unmoisturized, haven't touched lotion in years. And I don't think a vampire movie, besides maybe Dracula 2000, has ever pulled off making a vampire look unnatural, but also not dry, like they're fresh out of a coffin after being dead for years, which I guess is kind of the point. But you're also trying to sell that vampires are hot, so it doesn't really go together. But Dracula 2000 is the only one that probably pulled it off because they didn't go overboard with it. But then the vampire boy, we find out later that he calls himself Edward, which is another jab at Twilight. But he comes to the cashier, he throws a pack of, I think it's a pack of gum on the counter. And then he says, oh, I'm robbing you. Then the dude's like, oh, you're robbing me? He's like, no, I'm not robbing you personally. I'm robbing the store. And it's like, they try to do comedy, but this is one of the scenes where they try to do something, but they can't really pull off comedy all that well. And it comes off as very dry. We want you to laugh, but not naturally integrate into the story very well for you to laugh at the joke itself. Like, there's a very fine line between being funny and being cringe. And then, like, this feels more like it would be an indie product and not an actual studio made movie because everything, like, down to the actors not really being in much and hasn't been in much since. And overall, the people that made this movie only has, I think, all together to have like between 6 and 12 products, but they haven't really made anything new. He has a gun. He's holding the dude at gunpoint. The girl, her name is Cindy. She's his co-worker. She pretty much dips into the background while the other dude has the gun pointed at the cashier. He notices that she's gone, so he goes to look for her. The cashier. Oh.
Is this all?
Yeah.
$0.35.
Ow. Shit. You know what? I've got my wallet. How about I just take some of that cash register money instead?
Boy tries to call the cops, and Cindy, she comes back with the gun. But this is where we get our second attempt at comedy that doesn't really flow well with the story. And the cashier boy, his name is Paul. He's the love interest throughout the story. But I would say he's the love interest like he is. But like I said before, the romance gets pushed to the back of the story, so he's a love interest, but it's not really a love story, but it kind of tries to frame itself as one. It's very confusing. Like, it feels like two separate scripts that got mashed together to make the story. And I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, it would explain a lot wrong with the writing, how things don't seem to work out well together because it wasn't supposed to be one movie. So after all that, we don't find out what happens to them. Like, so Edward gets shot by Cindy. He's just like, oh, you ruined my shirt. And then he goes to bite them, but then it cuts to black. So then we get to the group. They're arriving at SpaceCon. It's just the usual stuff that happens at comic conventions, Comic Cons, and all that type of stuff. I've never been to one, so I'm just going off of what I've seen on the internet. And it seems pretty accurate. It's just people being themselves. Some are cool, some are weird. Nothing too special happens. But then we see Paul and Cindy, the people that worked at the convenience store, they arrived. Cindy wants to wait for the perfect opportunity to go around and bite people, but Paul came to the convention to see a panel with this dude that claims he's related to the Dracula. And so he wants to go to the panel to see if there's any way they can turn back. So Cindy, she's agreeing to wait till after the panel so they can see if there is a way to turn back.
How many times do I have to tell you to hold still?
Sorry.
It's fine. But do you want to look like you're sick or like you actually belong at one of these things? People only have to believe it long enough for us to, you know.
Cindy, please, can't you just wait until the vampire expert panel? He'll know how to fix all of this.
You sound ridiculous.
So now we're 18 minutes in. The story, like I said, the story is really dragging out. And it's like they don't know what they want to do because the conflict hasn't started yet. But now there's only like 58 minutes to get the conflict started and resolved, while also trying to have romance in between. So it's like the way this movie's set up, it's like everything is fighting to have screen time with each other, but at the same time, everything is taken away from each other because they don't know how they want to kind of have everything come together to make a full circle story, but at the same time, have everything make sense. If that makes sense, it's like, if in one scene they want to focus on romance, the conflict takes a back seat. But if they want to focus on the conflict, the romance takes a back seat. But if they want to actually tell the story of what's going on, the romance and the conflict takes a back seat because they want time to explain things to you, give exposition, but at the same time, do like a romance scene in the conflict scene. And at the end of the story, you will see they try to push it all together at once, and it doesn't work because everything starts to get all rushed with each other. Now we see Kate and her friend, they're watching a movie together. Paul is there. Paul keeps staring at Kate, and her friend notices, so her friend says to go talk to him because he wanted to have a bit of a romantic fling before you go off to college. Paul actually talks to Kate this time. He's a bit more smooth with his words.
I was hoping I'd see you here too.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, well, I thought it was really cool you knew what I was reading. You know, usually sweaty old guys are the only ones who know about that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm not an old guy, but I do sweat when I'm nervous. I'm sorry. I don't know why I told you that. I'm really bad at small talk.
Let's just start over. Oh, hey, cute girl who likes comic books. What's your name?
Kate. Should I call you Dracula?
Just Paul.
They go and they talk for a while. They walk around Comic Con. Well, they walk around Space Con. I don't really see what's the difference because it's not even space themed because everybody's dressed up as like different things, different monsters, comic book characters and things. But they call it Space Con, I guess because they didn't want to call it Comic Con or anything like that. But I don't really see what the difference is because there's not a heavy emphasis on space. And at the same time, there's a vampire ball that goes on later on that they have to run through. So I really don't know why they chose the name Space Con. But anyways, so Paul is he's being more smooth, he's getting to know Kate. And then eventually Kate wants to go out and then find her friends because she had left them at the movies. And Paul, he doesn't want her to go, so They go to have a kiss because again, they're trying to do the romantic thing. Paul almost bites her.
Sorry.
No, wait.
Because he's a vampire, so he didn't know how that was gonna go. He didn't bite her though, because at the last minute he pulled away. Mark sees it, but he doesn't see that Paul is a vampire. So Mark walks outside. He mentions, "Oh, how do you know Paul?" Kate's just like, "Oh, you know Paul too," but we don't get into that one. Again, pushing the story to the side. They kind of brush it off till it's, I'm not even gonna say convenient because it comes out at an inconvenient time. So Mark has a crush on Kate. It's almost a bit of a love triangle, but it's not a love triangle. But that's another thing. Like, I mentioned they're trying to do the romance thing, but now they're doing the, "Oh, I like you, but you don't like me, you like him." It's that type of thing, but I don't really like love triangles. It just feels like extra padding. Like, if you're doing an actual series, then that's one thing because you have time to explore all of the love interests. But if you're on a movie that's an hour and 16 minutes, you don't have the luxury of time to get into everything. So the love triangle could have been left out, and it doesn't even have a conclusion to it. So they really could have left that one out. It's like they try to throw in everything that should be associated with this type of media, and it doesn't work out at all. So Kate meets back up with her friend, and they're talking about her and the cashier boy Paul. And then out of nowhere, this movie decides to do like a Family Guy style cutaway.
It might be kind of lame, just like last year. Geeks trying to breakdance. Somebody should have seen that coming.
So after this, we see Mark. He found Paul and he's talking to Paul. We find out that they were childhood friends that drifted apart. And Mark asks Paul if he's with Kate, and Paul says no like a million times for no reason.
You don't go out with her or anything, do you?
No, that's weird. No, I've known her for like forever. No. That'd be really weird. No.
I wouldn't want to cause any problems with you guys.
Oh, it's no big deal.
Even though it's obviously he has a crush on her. And then Mark tells Paul that Kate's leaving after the weekend's up. So then Paul goes to Katie's room, he stops her, he talks to her, and then he gives her back her room key because she asks, "Oh, how do you know what room I'm in?" And he says, "Oh, you dropped this room key earlier, I picked it up, I came here to give it back to you and to talk to you." So then they talk for a bit more, and they try to kiss.
I don't want to leave it at that.
I'm so confused right now.
Look, maybe we shouldn't be together, but I just want to end things right.
How do you imagine ending things right? Ow.
Hey guys, it's 3 a.m. So I didn't know if I was like crazy, taking crazy pills here, but if you guys could keep it down, I have a 9 a.m. panel tomorrow. Like, some of us have, jobs to do. I don't know what kids do these days. They think they're on Jupiter or whatever.
Sorry.
Kate had a nightmare that she ate her friend, and then she wakes up and her friend notices that she has marks on her neck. And so her friend immediately thinks, because, Paul was cosplaying as a vampire, but she says, "Oh, what if he actually is a vampire? Look at your neck." So then she starts on a little cross with her fingers, and then Kate's like, oh, I'm gonna go put something on this because, you know, it's an open wound and all that. She goes to the bathroom, she notices she doesn't have a reflection, and she screams. And then her friend comes into the bathroom.
Holy shit!
She sees she has no reflection. They call the other two boys over, and I didn't really mention the second guy friend that they had. I forgot what his name was, but it's like he's just like the girlfriend. Those two, they're just there to be there, and they don't really do nothing in the story. They come over, they do a bit of testing on her. He shines a flashlight in her face and says, oh, if you're a vampire, your eyes will turn red at the sight of blood. Well, at the smell of blood, her eyes doesn't turn red. But then after that, when everybody backs away, the producers and the directors, they gave her some weird red contacts that kind of got a laugh out of me because you cut to them all of a sudden just being there, and it was just so random. So it's kind of funny that the one thing that wasn't meant to be a joke was the one thing that got me to laugh because of how uncanny it all looked. But anyways, they run more tests on her. So then they mention she didn't smell blood, but her eyes turn red anyways. So that means that she's not a full vampire yet, but she's turning, and her senses hasn't been heightened enough yet for her to go full on vampire at the smell of blood. So then here's where we get on our second jab at Twilight.
So she's definitely a...
Say it out loud.
Vampire.
As if it wasn't already obvious.
I know what you are.
Say it. Out loud. Say it.
Vampire.
Are you afraid?
Because now her friends know she's a vampire. She's convinced she's a vampire. So they do the whole say it scene from Twilight. The girl even does that lip bite thing that Bella does. And that's somewhat related to the movie. But it's so funny that within all my years of being, like, I used to be a Twilight fan back when I was younger. But it's so funny that it's only recently that I realized with people pointing it out that Bella bites her lips a lot through the first movie. And it's so funny that this movie that came out like 2 years after Twilight was probably one of the first things to like call out that movie for, because it's like Bella doesn't know what to do throughout the movie. She's a very dry person, but it's like she constantly does that lip bite thing, I guess, to give her a bit of characteristics for something. I'm pretty sure the later movies dropped that. So then we get our third jab at Twilight. They run more tests on her to see if she's a real vampire or not.
Why is there a question mark?
Well, I'm not exactly sure what'll happen to you. You know, you could sparkle or you could burst into flames.
Okay, please make sure I don't catch on fire.
Gotcha. Anything?
No, just sort of tingles, I guess, just like after someone pinches you. Oh, yeah, like that. But seriously, any teenager would feel that way this early in the morning.
Really works. They even bring light again to the whole, if you're a vampire, how does the sun affect you? Are you gonna burst into flames or are you gonna sparkle? So they open the window and she's just like, it just tingles a little. Again, she's not a full vampire, so for a very short time she can still handle being in the sun. So then they go They're gonna run a third test on her with garlic. They're gonna see, they ordered a garlic pizza to see if it affects her or anything. She eats it. She said that she feels sick, but probably because she's eating pizza for breakfast. That's what she says. But it may have to do with the garlic too that's in the pizza. So eventually Dashley kind of explained what's happening to her in video game terms. I'll probably just play the clip for this part because it's better for them to explain it than for me to explain it, because I probably wouldn't do that scene justice. Plus it just looks so weird how they turn everything into like a video game for a second.
Thanks. It's because she hasn't fully turned yet.
You know, this reminds me of a video game I was playing last week, actually. Yeah.
Basically, the health bar shows how much they're still human. Kate's a brand new vampire, so her health is only down a couple of points. But this guy, Paul, he's enough vampire to turn to human. One of them, right? So I figure he's at least like half vampire. He might even be in the danger zone.
I have to find some health points.
We also get on a Nancy Drew mystery solver shout out. This is a person at the convention named Nancy Drew, and they have a missing persons poster for her. It's in a scene where she was like kidnapped by a vampire. We don't see the vampire, we just see her knocked out and dragged away. But at the same time, they didn't show that scene for it to be like, oh, I've remembered this girl, she was missing the day before. It's like, they say, oh, I saw her go missing, and they show a flashback of seeing her go missing, but they never show the actual scene, so it's like, it feels like something that was thrown in at the last minute, like, oh, this person that I saw went missing, but the audience doesn't see it till after we see the missing person poster. But anyways, her name is Nancy Drew. They even mentioned that, oh, I like those books. So it's a shout out to the Nancy Drew books years before she even got a Nancy Drew TV show. I haven't seen it, and aside of being a mystery solver, because that's what's in the title, I don't really know what she does outside of mystery solving. But I feel like from the cover, what the TV show is, it's in like the same realm as the Sabrina TV show in Riverdale, so I might check it out one day, but I'm not really sure about that. They all split up. Kate goes to look for Paul. Her friends go to the vampire, the dude that's claiming he's related to Dracula. They go to his vampire panel, and then we get one of the only real funny jokes throughout this entire movie.
Yes.
Is it possible for like a vampire to fall in love with a high schooler, even though he might be a lot older than her?
Are you fucking stupid?
And that's one of the only things that actually managed to get a laugh out of me. We found out that the coworker Cindy was there, and she asked the real questions like, oh,
Is there a way for a vampire to turn back?
Yeah, if you have been turned by a vampire. Don't drink any blood, because if you do, that makes the vampiric transformation permanent. Find the vampire that bit you, stake them through the heart, and you might possibly have a chance at turning back.
Can a vampire turn back? And it's just like, oh, there is a way. If the vampire kills the head vampire or the person that turned them, they'll turn back into a regular human, but only if they haven't tasted the blood of somebody else yet. So already we know Paul, even though it was an accident, he turned Kate to a vampire. So there's no way for him to turn back human. So they would have to kill Paul to turn Kate back human. And later on, her friends do come to that conclusion also. Even though Paul was just like, oh, it was an accident, it wasn't my fault, it doesn't matter. So the movie kind of screwed him over on that one. So then here we are, we're like 48 minutes in. We get our this would be like the fourth or the fifth jab at Twilight. where the dude talks to other girls, but again, it's just him mentioning that his name is Edward, and they're just falling for him. And then he does mention I spend my time brooding and listening to classical music, and that was a characteristic of Edward from the first Twilight movie, where he took Bella to his room where all he has is classical music. But at the same time, I'm starting to wonder, like, before the mentions of Twilight, you would think that the Twilight movies exist in this world, but they don't say the movie out loud, which again, they probably didn't have the rights to use any of the material, which is why they always mention assets of the movie, but not actual things, but not the actual words of the movie. But I would consider that like the 5th jab at Twilight.
Julie, I just met the most amazing guy.
Oh my god, no way.
Yeah.
Hey,
This is
Edward.
Get out. Nicole, you were so right. You're perfect.
Oh, no one's perfect. I've been told that sometimes I act like I'm from another era, often too polite or gentlemanly. But I just spend most of my time listening to classical music, sitting around contemplating the state of humanity.
And it's one of the last ones to have. But anyway, it's just 16 minutes to wrap up the movie. Alright, this entire review, nothing of substance ever happened in this movie. So in the last 16 minutes, how are they gonna wrap it all up? So Cindy, the co-worker, sees Paul and Kate holding hands, and she pretty much runs off. So now it's like a love square. So Cindy likes Paul, Paul likes Kate, Kate likes Paul, Mark likes Kate. But now Mark is jealous of Paul, Cindy is jealous of Kate. But it's just the last 16 minutes, so how are you ever gonna wrap all of that up? I know how it ends, and you're gonna hate how it ends. So the group tells Kate that she has to kill Paul, because that's pretty much the only way to turn bad. The vampire that turned Paul and Cindy is at the convention now. He's going around talking to people. I already mentioned him before. With him doing the whole all out the brood and watch classical music thing. They all end up splitting up because Cindy is now at the convention. She's kind of going crazy. She's coming after them. They end up splitting up because Paul says, oh, well, I'll just kill the person that turned me since he's at the convention, and that should fix both of us at the same time. So Paul goes out to find Edward. Kate's friends is running away and then chasing after Sydney because she's Cindy because she's trying to get to them. It's like a chase scene. Nothing really happens. Nobody really kills anybody until Paul actually manages to get to Edward's room before Edward gets there. And then they have a fight. It's not really a good fight scene, but then Paul actually does manage to kill Edward. So Paul kills Edward, which he's not the head vampire, but he's the one that's responsible for turning everybody that's at a convention. It doesn't really matter because both Cindy and Paul has already bitten other people. But even though Paul was in an accident, he still has to die in order to turn Kate back. So Cindy walks in and she sees that Paul killed Edward. Paul agrees to leave with Cindy and to leave Kate behind. So then he goes to spend his final moments with Kate. They're watching a movie scene together that ends up turning into a memory or like a future of Kate leaving her family behind in black and white. So she starts crying.
The convention is over. We're gonna have to find a way to live like this when we leave.
Yeah. I guess Dracula costumes aren't as inconspicuous in the real world.
Maybe your comic book knowledge will come in handy after all. I mean, the horror ones. Superheroes are cool and all, but they're just not real.
There's one more thing I have to do. I'll meet you back at your room.
I'll pack.
And Pat, she heads back to her room. Kate tells her friend that she's leaving, and they're like, oh, Paul already came to talk to us, and he said that he's leaving with Cindy instead of you. But in reality, Paul takes Cindy to the roof, and he locks them up there because he's going to kill both of them at the same time. So they start to have an argument. Cindy slaps Paul and notices that some of his face turned to dust because the sun is rising up. And now they're both locked out on the roof with no way of getting out.
I'm running away from your problems?
Mark somehow shows up before, Mark left the room beforehand because Kate doesn't want to be with Mark. So he heads up to the roof to go and, it's like, he heads up to the roof, he has a stake in hand. He already knew Paul's hand. He knew Paul's plan beforehand. And so he went up there to, I guess, assist them in killing Cindy. But then Cindy gets the upper hand for a while. Paul manages to kill Cindy. And then he hears Kate running up the stairs to come and get to him. Paul tells Mark to go and stop her. Mark does. Then he kisses her pretty much without consent. She doesn't, keep in mind, this entire movie, Kate never liked Mark like that. They was just friends to her. Mark kisses Kate, and then she runs past him right after without even acknowledging the kiss.
Oh, she's coming. Jason, you have to stop her.
I'm
Jason,
sorry, I thought I told her you left.
You can't let her out here.
I don't think there's anything I can do to stop her.
Just stop her!
Where's Paul?
Kate, please.
And notice that Paul has already turned to dust completely. So now she's sad. Mark is just like, oh, he wanted it this way. And the movie ends with just that. They're just staring out on the roof at the sun. And that's, nobody talks about nothing. Kate goes off to college. Mark and Kate doesn't get together. It was pretty much all a waste of time. And that was just the final 16 minutes where they tried to wrap everything up, and it didn't work out at all because it just felt like you spent the entire hour of the movie doing nothing but just being there. Then in the last 16 minutes, it felt like such a claustrophobic mess because you jumped from one thing to the other to wrap up the story that was never set up properly. So really, I feel like it probably would have benefited this movie more to be even shorter than what it was, because then there probably would have been a sense of urgency. Like, make it a 30-minute short story and you would pretty much get the same exact thing you got with the hour and 16 minutes because it was nothing but padding out to finish out something that shouldn't have been that long in the first place, even though I thought it was probably pretty short in the beginning. But I realized they probably didn't have an actual story to go with it. But anyways, that's the video. I hope you guys like and subscribe. Comment if you want to see something different. And I'll see you next time.